So in the past, we've covered both NSE and NSDL multiple times, and I think NSE is something that we had first covered back in 2020 when NSE was available at somewhere around 800 rupees a share. And for people who have been with us since then, they would obviously remember that at that time, getting NSE shares was very, very difficult. The number of people who were selling was very less. There was only a handful of institutions that you used to have access to NSE, and where transactions could reasonably be done. उस समय check sizes used to be very large. I think at that time in 2018, 2019, when the first couple of transactions we did, the check sizes used to be almost 10, 15, 20 crores for a single tranche. And that has slowly gotten much easier. So I think for investors from then, it has been a really rewarding journey. So in the last 7-8 years, NSE has gone from some 800 rupees a share to almost 8,000 rupees a share, which is a 10x growth in the last 7-8 years. And this is not accounting for the dividend. So I think probably somewhere around 300-350 rupees dividend yield in any case would have come back to the investors who would have kind of invested that early on. And NSE is one stock which has been an excellent buy at all levels, right? So I think going back 2 times of 2017, 2018, 2019, when we did the first couple of tranches at 600 and 650 rupees a share, 2019, 2020, when it was around 1,000, 1,100, 21, 22, it again went up from 1,000, 1,100 to 1,500, 1,600. Uske baad 2022, 2023, it was somewhere around 3,000 rupees a share. Then 24, 25, again, it gave a steady compounding from 3,000, 4,000 rupees a share to 5,000, 6,000 rupees a share. And as we stand in 2025, the price of the share without accounting for bonus stands at almost 8,000 rupees. So post bonus, the share is at 1,600, but pre bonus, the share is almost at 8,000, which makes it a phenomenal investment for people who would have gotten in early, and anyone who's gotten in the interim last 7 years. Now, this actually reminds me for one of the statements which Rakesh Jhunjhunwala had made, in which he basically said, it is not about just being right in the market. It is about being right, sizing your bet when you are right. What basically he meant to say was, it doesn't necessarily mean कि आपने एक stock पे 10x बना लिया तो you've been a great investor. What it means is कि उस समय did you deploy enough of your portfolio into that particular investment that it has made a meaningful difference to your portfolio overall. And I think NSE has been one of the stocks where we've been very vocal कि यहाँ पे you can deploy more than what you understand and more than what you would typically deploy into a particular stock. So here there was very high confidence on the business. There was very high confidence on the Indian markets, macroeconomics, tailwinds. Everything was in line for people who understood this space to make a very large bet in this particular company. And I think people have been handsomely rewarded for their time, patience, and trust for people who would have invested into NSE earlier. So with that context and without further ado, let's quickly dive deeper into how NSE has been forming. We'll also try and cover a small update on what has happened with NSDL towards the end of this presentation. So just to cover what quickly NSE does, NSE is obviously India's largest exchange. It was founded in the year 1993. So it's almost 30 years old now. It is globally the 7th largest stock exchange, having a total market cap of listed companies of almost $5 trillion as on May 23rd. And if you look at it globally, in terms of ranking, it is the #1 exchange in terms of number of trades in multi-asset exchanges. It is the #1 in terms of number of contracts, in terms of derivative exchanges. And again, in number of trades, it is at #3 in terms of equities only. Now, obviously, there are much larger exchanges in the globe if you consider the value of the contracts traded. But as far as number of contracts go, NSE is actually the largest which shows how secure systems and processes of NSEs is that they have been able to handle such volumes uh, while maintaining their cost structures at a fairly reasonable level. These are the larger segments in which NSE operates. So obviously equity and equity derivatives happens to be the largest and the most dominant segment on the Indian capital markets. Apart from that, NSE also operates in fixed income and fixed income derivatives, currency and commodity derivatives. So these are largely the four headers under which it works: equity, spot and derivative, fixed, spot and derivatives, currency derivatives and commodity derivatives. Now, quickly trying to cover the financial update for NSE for you. So this is how the financials look for NSE. In FY24, NSE recorded a net total revenue of almost 16,000 crores. FY25, that revenue has jumped by almost 17% to account to almost 19,000 crores. On this 19,000 crores, it has been able to net a profit margin of almost 12,000 crores, which is against a PBT of 8,000 crores, which it recorded in FY24. So while the revenue has gone up by 17%, the PAT for NSE has actually jumped up by almost 47%. Now, a quick disclaimer here, PAT में दो चीजों का impact है which has boosted the PAT significantly higher as compared to last year. तो पहला है कि इस साल NSE ने एक NS ई प्रोटीन ई गॉव में एक स्टेक सेल किया था जिससे 1150 crores का वन टाइम गेन आया था which is included in this number. And then I think there has been a reduction to the amount of expense item recorded against SGF and the passback of the penalty which was posted onto NSE in the previous year. Therefore, I feel that the normalized PAT figure for the current year should be closer to 11,000 crores. So the remaining 1,200, 1,300 crores is something which was a one-time gain. But even if we take it at a 11,000 crore number, on 11,000 divided by 8,300, it will still come to a 32% jump in profitability. Now, coming back to how it looks, so the EPS for NSE for the current year stands at almost 50 rupees at a share price of almost, say, an average of 1,600. It will be somewhere around 32, 33 times earnings, while last year the EPS for the company was around 33x per share. ROE figures for the company are extremely attractive. So the current year's ROE stands at almost 45%, whereas the previous year ROE was almost at 37%. A quick note here, if there is anything that I am not covering, and if there is any question that you would like to ask me, please drop a message in the chat box. I think Mitesh Kenya ji has asked the same question. If there is a problem in the presentation, okay, no vocal. Just quickly voice check, is my voice clearly audible or is there some lag or delay in the voice? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I think Gautam ji, there might be some trouble at your end because I think largely people are able to hear us. So a quick check, if there is something that you would want to ask in a particular slide, please kindly put it on the chat box. We will try and address it whenever we take breaks between the presentation. So coming back quickly to the quarterly highlights, just to have a look at how NSE has been doing. So for Q4, the turnover was almost 5,000 crores for NSE. That is last year FY24 turnover. For the current year, for Q4, the turnover has fallen from 5,000 crore levels to 4,400 crores approximately. And that's almost a 13-14% fall in total revenue. EBITDA, on the other hand, has again fallen by 10% from a 3,000 crore number to a 2,800 crore number. And we will basically try and cover this fall and why this fall has come and how should people understand कि इसका आगे चल के क्या impact है. How will the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year of this revenue pool look like? So you've done all of that analysis and we've broken that down into bite-sized pieces for you to understand. Just one caveat here, FY23 Q3 FY25 का जो figure है, that stands at 3,300. Uh, Sorry, yeah. So basically, in Q3 of FY25, there was an exceptional gain in because of a stake sale of Protein EGOF, which almost contributed to 1150 crores, and therefore this PAT is artificially high. इतना high नहीं होना चाहिए था. And sorry, this 3,800 crores versus 2,650 crores. So the PAT was artificially high because of this one-time gain. Quickly looking at the financial update, so जैसे हमने देखा कि operating profit of FY25 was much higher, so 12,000 crore का operating profit था as compared to FY24, which was 9,500 crores. Operating EBITDA, they were much more efficient this year, so they almost recorded a 74% EBITDA as opposed to a 67% EBITDA in FY24. After tax profit again has inched upwards from a 51% of top line to 58% of top line, jumping from 8,000 to 12,100 crores. Now, this is the interesting slide, and this is something which is very important for people to understand. कि NSE जो 19,000 करोड़ रुपए कमाया है, वो आया कहाँ से? How come out? So, as you can see, the largest composition for NSE's revenue is the transaction charges. This is basically the revenue which NSE takes जब आप कैश मार्केट या फ्यूचर्स मार्केट या ऑप्शन मार्केट्स में ट्रांजैक्शन पंच करते हैं, NSE फीस बोल के जो डेबिट होता है आपके अकाउंट में, that is contributing almost 60% of the total revenue. Now, this is of note here because globally this number stands somewhere around 35-40%, and therefore all of these other headers should grow faster for NSE in the next 5-7 years and reduce the dependency of the exchange on this transaction revenue broadly. And as that happens, the entire revenue profile for NSE will become much more sustainable and much more predictable. So largest है 27%, which is from 67%, which is from transaction charges. So 19,000 crore में से 13,000 crore रुपए सिर्फ transaction charges से आता है, which is basically transaction fee charged by NSE on any trades which are punched on its exchange. The second largest contributor is data center and connectivity. And the good part is this has actually gone up. तो अगर आप देखें तो FY24 में 900 crore से this is almost at 1,200 crores. So this is almost a 30% jump year on year, which shows that this revenue is growing faster than the transaction revenue. And therefore, if this process or this continues for the next 3-4 years, these can start creating new large additional profit and revenue pools for NSE. इसके बाद there are some other segments जहाँ से operating revenue आ रहा है, like investment income. Then there is data feed and terminals services. This is listing services. Any company which is getting listed onto the NSE has to pay a listing fees. That fees gets recorded here. So this again, although the number is small, but what you have to see is that the growth is very steep. So this has actually gone up by 41%. So last year 200 crore का था, इस साल almost 315 crore का है. So the growth is very fast. And last, what is of note is clearing and settlement services, another small percentage in the overall pool, but this has again gone up by almost 140%. So it has gone from 135 crores to almost 321 crores in the last 1 year. So these are very positive offshoots for NSE, जहाँ पे हमें पता चल रहा है कि NSE revenue को diversify कर पा रहा है, and it is able to get into segments जहाँ पे it might be able to get a faster revenue growth, and it will be able to get a more predictable revenue growth. Now this is a deep dive on the transactional charges. So basically आपने जो ये 13,000 करोड़ रुपए, that is 67% of the total revenue transaction का देखा, उसको हमने थोड़ा और break down किया है कि how has that come into being. So that revenue has actually fallen overall in quarter to quarter numbers. So while you look at FY25 year on year, so year on year the transaction charges has obviously gone up from 12,000 crore to 13,000 crore, which is an increase of almost 12%. Cash market has gone up by 37%, futures has gone up by 37%, and equity options has gone up by 7%. But if you see the quarter on quarter data, that gives you a different picture. Basically, Q3 FY25, Q4 FY25 and Q4 FY24, मतलब last 3 quarter में कैसे चीजें play out हुई हैं. अगर आप उसको देखेंगे तो there is a dip in all segments, but the largest dip is in the ऑप्शन सेगमेंट, जहां पे 17% का डिप आया है एज कंपेयर टू दी कैश एंड दी फ्यूचर, जहां पे 6 से 8% का डिप आया है. वी विल कवर व्हाई दिस हैज हैपेंड एंड व्हाट टू एक्सपेक्ट, कि आगे चल के इसमें क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है, दैट आल्सो विल कवर स्पेसिफिकली इन अ सेपरेट सेगमेंट. Now, like we saw the revenue breakdown, what we also wanted to show you is the expense breakdown. And इसमें एक दो interesting चीजें हैं which we would want to cover for you. So the first thing is the employee cost. Obviously, employee cost has gone up for the organization. It has jumped very steeply. 460 crore ka, it is almost at 672 crores. That's a 46% jump. Other expenses has gone up by again 52%. So that's again a very steep jump. Technology, the company is spending a lot of money, so it's gone from again 800 crores to 1,000 crores. SEBI settlement fee. This was basically the co-location fee which was due to SEBI from NSE's end. That has jumped from almost 70 crores to 670 crores. But this is a one-time item. We don't expect to see this anytime in the future. And what is most critical is this line item, which is 1700 crore ka contribution to SGF. Now, SGF is basically a fund or a provision rather, which NSE has to create कि कल को अगर exchange fail हो गया या exchange commitment नहीं meet कर पाया, so this money will be used to make the investors on the exchange whole. So this, what we basically understand from this is कि last year FY24 में 1700 करोड़ रुपए का provision NSE ने बनाया था against whatever trades that were being done. FY25 में this number is only at 234 crores, and what this shows is कि जो SGF को fill करना था वो largely हो गया है. तो अब हर साल इसमें incremental top up ही आएगा. It will never be a very large sum which NSE will probably apportion again. The expectation is that this number will keep on coming down year on year as the larger base for the SGF is already created. So what is of note here in expenses? One, कि SEBI का जो settlement fee है वो FY25 में 700 करोड़ का आया था, which is a one-time cost. And the second is that this 1700 crores of contribution to SGF had happened last year, but we don't expect to see it in the future of that size. It will keep on happening. 100-200 crore का खर्चा आएगा, but again it will be something which is just a provision. So ये actually खर्चा किसी को pay नहीं हो रहा है. This is just being provisioned and set aside. इस पैसे को अलग बैंक अकाउंट से निकाल के दूसरे बैंक अकाउंट में डाल के रख दिया जा रहा है कि ये पैसे हम उस दिन यूज करेंगे अगर for some reason exchange is not able to meet its liability. Okay, coming back to how NSE's numbers will hopefully look like. Now, these numbers are not prepared by me. They had been published in a report which we had seen. So basically, I'm just trying to present what kind of revenues can we expect from NSE so that the investors have a sense of what to expect from the entire company in the next couple of years. So operating revenue wise, 17,000 crores is what we have clocked in the FY25. In FY26, because of the change in the options market and because of the rise of BSE also, this revenue might slightly dip. So it can actually grow from 17,000 crores to 16,800 crores, a very small dip, but nonetheless, 1.25% का dip आ सकता है. FY27, again, the analysts are projecting key number, again, it will go from 17,000 crores to almost 20,000 crores. And reported PAT is expected to again be slightly lower for FY26, while for FY27 it is again expected to go a little higher from 12,000 crores almost to almost 1,30,000 crores. So this is how the next 3-year projections for NSE looks like. Quickly, we wanted to cover the most critical aspect. तो जैसे हमने अभी तक cover किया कि there has been a fall in the revenue pool for the quarter-on-quarter data for NSE in terms of revenue, and आगे next year maybe there might be some rationalization in the revenue pool. Now, all of that largely has happened because of the changes in the options market which has happened in the last 6 months essentially. So let's understand first कि क्या market share था, क्या growth आया है space में and क्या fall आया है. So let's just look at the FY25 number, okay? So FY25 में cash market obviously did well, futures market did well, options market also broadly did well, but growth had slowed down very significantly. तो ये नंबर अगर आप एक साल और पहले का कंपेयर करेंगे तो दिस नंबर वुड बी समवेयर अराउंड 60-65% फॉर ईयर ऑन ईयर ग्रोथ। सो वो 60% की ग्रोथ से कम होके मार्केट का ग्रोथ हैज फॉलन टू ऑलमोस्ट 13%. And NSE's volume growth has fallen even further. It was only 2% in options if you compare year on year. Now, if you look at the market share, which is the most critical data, cash market broadly it's a monopoly, 93. Futures market again it's a monopoly, 99.9%. ये तो complete monopoly है. And on the option side, it is having a 87.4% market share. This, however, if you look at the previous years, this number also used to be at 99, 96, 97% के आसपास. So this is the serious concern which people have to be aware when they are evaluating NSE of what is happening in the company. I'm diving deeper into this specific aspect and showing you how the market has moved. So Q1 FY25, this number was practically 99. Sorry, this would be FY24. I'm so sorry for the mistake. But yeah, so 99 का number था जो इनका options market share था, and 0.7 was where BSE was at. And if you see in the last 8 quarters, this number from 99 has come to 1%, and BSE has almost cornered of 19% of the overall market share in the options market. So this is visible here. फ्यूचर्स में 99 का 99 ही है, करेंसी में 93 का 99 ही है, कैश में 93 का 93 है. हाउएवर ऑप्शंस में the market share which was 97% on an average in FY24 has fallen to almost 81% in the current year. Now let's understand ये क्यों हुआ and आगे इसका क्या impact आएगा. So basically the key reason why this impact came in was because of new derivative regulations which impacted the equity options. Now what were these changes? तो पहला चेंज था जो दिसंबर 24 में आया, जहां पे एक्सचेंजेस के पास वेरियस इंडेक्सेस होते हैं. सो जस्ट टू टेल यू कि एनएसई में एनएस निफ्टी है, फिन निफ्टी है, निफ्टी 50 है, निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50 है, एंड बैंक निफ्टी है. एंड a bunch of these indices had their respective weekly expiry of derivatives. So what new regulation came in was that now every exchange can have only one weekly expiry in a year. And basically this really reduced NSE's overall pool, which was available for capital to be redeployed. So basically क्या होता है ना कि ट्रेडर के पास कैपिटल लिमिटेड है, राइट? सो द मोर नंबर ऑफ एक्सपायरीज आर देयर एंड द मोर नंबर ऑफ इंडाइसेस आर देयर, तो उसके पास और ज्यादा तरीका होता है टू रोटेट हिज मनी, एंड देयरफॉर दैट इज वेयर द वॉल्यूम कम्स फ्रॉम, कि वो कुछ पैसे को निफ्टी में घुमाता है, फिर उसी पैसे को निफ्टी 50 में घुमाता है, बिकॉज सबका एक्सपायरी डेट्स अलग अलग भी होते हैं. Now what has happened is they have restricted expiry from to one per exchange, and because of this NSE has lost a lot of market share in terms of bank nifty. So bank nifty now is only a monthly expiry, so it cannot be done on a weekly basis. Second change which happened recently was the increase in lot sizes. So lot sizes basically पहले जो contract का lot size था, that was almost increased by 50%. That was also due because बहुत time से lot size increase नहीं हुआ था. And the third which took effect from 1st April was intraday monitoring of position limits. So basically this impacts कि एक आदमी एक पैसे पे कितना leverage ले सकता है and कितना exposure लिया जा सकता है in the options market. So that amount of exposure which someone would have taken has been reduced. So all of these three, अब सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि ये regulations आए क्यों. So the key reason why these regulations came in was because retail participation in FNO market had gone through the roof. In the last 10 years, it had grown at a CAGR of almost 40%. 10-12 साल में 40% की CAGR से equity option participation had gone up. And SEBI was concerned कि over speculation हो रहा है market में and retail investors are actually losing money. So to ensure that there is minimal loss or to ensure that there is no over speculation in the market, SEBI came up with these set of regulations in November of 24 with different dates on which they will essentially become applicable. So this started in December, this started in January, and this has started from 1st April. So first reason for fall was जो हमने अभी बताया कि there has been a change in the overall market structure as far as options goes. The second change which you can see here is the fall in volumes. So equity futures volumes have fallen by 15%. Equity cash volumes has actually fallen by 19%. Now, this can be because last year FY25-24 markets were very good. FY25 markets were a little uncertain, and therefore जब market uncertain होता है तो retail participation slightly goes down. So, and one thing which is to be understood is कि exchange में जो business है that is absolutely cyclical. जो period अच्छा चलता है उसमें the participation keeps going up, retail keeps making money, they keep on investing and rotating money. जब dull period आता है, so that participation starts going down, and in some years there can be a fall from the previous year. But this we are not very concerned about because market is cyclical. तो आज अगर इस साल अगर वॉल्यूम्स कम है तो जैसे मार्केट ऊंचा आएगा, जैसे मार्केट उठेगा, दैट वॉल्यूम किकबैक happens again and वो वॉल्यूम very quickly recover भी कर जाता है. Now we wanted to cover what NSE versus BSE looks like. So NSE is, like we discussed, it's almost at a 19,000 crore revenue. इसके against BSE did a revenue of 3,000 crores. So NSE is almost 6 times size of BSE. If you compare profitability, BSE did 1,300 crores of revenue, whereas NSE did almost 12,000 crores of revenue. Therefore, NSE is almost 11 times revenue that of BSE. PAT margins obviously for NSE are much higher because of transaction revenue from options market, which stands at almost 63.5% of the revenue, whereas for BSE it's about 40%. Quickly scrolling down to the PE multiple, currently NSE's PE at a price of 1625 is 34x, whereas for BSE at a price of 7279, it is at 75x. So BSE is almost at a PE double that of NSE. So BSE is at a 75, whereas NSE is almost at 33, 34. So BSE and NSE में अभी PE double चल रहा है. BSE is actually getting a much higher PE multiple than NSE. Now broadly question है कि BSE को इतना प्रीमियम क्यों मिल रहा है and NSE को इतना प्रीमियम मिल सकता है क्या? This is something which we have faced very often. So what we feel is because of the change in the entire options market का infra or the market structure, there had to be a shift from NSE to BSE because BSE did not have any market share and therefore वहां पे भी weekly expiry एक exchange में रहेगा तो इधर से volume उधर shift होगा. Now what is expected is कि ये जो current Q4 या Q1 26 का जो split है, that has broadly stabilized, and this is what recently was reported in Mint also, that broadly whatever change was expected to happen, that has already happened in the shift in the options volume. So going forward, the expectation is that we will know more comfortably कि NSE का जो market share in options है, that should stay somewhere around 78 to 83% के बीच में. And exchanges. So these are some of the largest exchanges ranked by market cap in India. NSE stands at the 8th and at a PE of almost 34. Globally, you have Nasdaq at 36. You have Intercontinental Exchange at 28. So apart from अगर London Stock Exchange को हम ignore कर दें तो largely exchanges are between 25 to 30x PE. Some smaller exchanges are at much higher PE. So compared to that, what we feel is that for a high growth market like India, where financialization is still yet to happen, a 30-34 PE is something which looks justified to us. Now, quickly covering what NSE's strengths are. So obviously the first is dominant position in equity. So this is a network game. जिसके पास market leadership है, वो ज़्यादा efficient होगा अपने competitors से, and therefore it will have majority of the trade possible. India में financialization अभी भी बाकी है, therefore we still expect demat accounts to go up, retail participation to go up, and the market overall to become much larger than what it is right now. Third, we expect the amount of algo and technical trading will keep on going up because of automation in trading. अभी भी algo penetration in India is very low as compared to global markets, and once this increases, the amount of trades or number of trades goes up very significantly. And agar the number of trades are going up, so NSE's trading volume will go up, NSE's revenue will go up, all things remaining constant. Last, we feel कि एनएससी का आज जो ज्यादातर रेवेन्यू आ रहा है वो ट्रांजैक्शन रेवेन्यू से आ रहा है, और जैसे हमने देखा कि डेटा कनेक्टिविटी चार्जेस, लिस्टिंग फीस, डेटा फीड सर्विसेज, इन हेडर्स में NSE's revenue is rising almost 30-40% year on year, and we expect this to keep on happening for the next 3-4 years, which helps do away with most of the impact of the fall in revenues from the transaction. Now coming to what are the weaknesses. So these are some of the weaknesses. So NSE has faced some legal challenges as far as SEBI goes, the co-location case, the lawsuit which it is fighting against a couple of other market participants. This same point of diversification is currently a negative also, क्योंकि 80% of the revenue trading से आ रहा है, so that is a very high number as far as global peer goes. So NSE is supposed to reduce this, otherwise the dependency on transaction revenue still remains very high. Global presence, while this is an opportunity also, but this is currently a weakness because यहाँ पे भी अभी they have made a lot of developments, but currently the size is still much smaller compared to what other exchanges are able to pull off. These are some opportunities and threats. I think broadly I've tried and covered most of them, so I will not repeat these. Coming to recent updates on NSE. So NSE recently declared a 35 rupees per share dividend. So on a share price of 1600, that's almost a 2% yield for shareholders. जिसमें से 11.5 रुपए का स्पेशल पे आउट है एंड करीबन 24-23 rupees का रेगुलर डिविडेंड है. So this also indicates that NSE does not need too much money. From a 50 rupee EPS, it is almost being able to pay out 35 rupees to the investor. So the payout ratio is almost 70-75% for the company in the current year. So this basically shows that the company is able to give back to the shareholder 75% of what it is making. Still, it is able to grow at a very steep rate, setting aside the changes because of the options turnover. The second positive update for NSE was the settlement for the co-location case which was active against NSE was broadly solved, and NSE had applied to SEBI for getting an approval to launch its IPO. They have not yet received the approval for the IPO, but it is expected that in the next 12 to 24 months, all of these teething issues will get resolved and NSE should be able to launch its IPO. Now, this is a very interesting slide, and this is something which I really want people to understand. आज के दिन भी इंडिया में कैपिटल मार्केट्स मतलब इक्विटी मार्केट, इसके अलावा there is no other market which is at a decent size or scale. However, if you look across global exchanges, equity is just one portion. Debt and real estate are typically equally large. Debt markets are very vibrant. Usme trading volumes are much higher as a percentage and in absolute terms. And real estate being traded on the exchange in the form of REITs or in any other structural form is much higher than what it is in India right now. So what we feel is, आज के दिन एक एसेट क्लास में इतना बड़ा मार्केट बना है, इसमें दो और बहुत मेजर एसेट क्लासेस में वॉल्यूम स्टार्ट होना अभी बाकी है, which we feel that in the next 5, 7, 10 years it is bound to come. And if it comes, so NSE, because of its current standing in the market, because of its current infrastructure, market infrastructure, dealer distributor network, it should still have a very significant edge as compared to any other exchange. So this is what we wanted to cover on NSDL. What we wanted to cover on NSE. On NSDL, we just want to quickly show you highlights of what is happening in the company. I'll skip these in the interest of time. Just one update, ISIN for NSDL was unfrozen in the last month. Pehle NSDL ka transfer used to take almost 3 to 6 months. Now this is a real-time process. There is no paperwork or approval which is required. Quickly on the IPO, NSDL has filed a 3,000 crore IPO for July 25 as the expected timeline for the IPO. NSE has about 24% stake in NSDL, which it will partially dilute in the upcoming IPO. This is quickly how the revenue for NSDL looks like. I will try and cover it in the comparative. So NSDL का एक स्ट्रेट कट कंपटीटर है CDSL. तो NSDL में 1300-1400 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू है लगभग. CDSL is at 800 crores. Top line at bottom line level, CDSL is much more profitable. It reported almost 420 crores of PAT in FY24 versus an NSDL's PAT of 275 crores. In terms of PE, CDSL is approximately at 40-41, whereas NSDL is at a slightly higher PE ratio of almost 74. These numbers are expected to change for FY25, but just to give you a sense of how both of these numbers look like. Quickly covering what, apart from this, we are doing at Altius. So we've launched 4 new verticals. One is basically HUF, which is a tool for saving taxes, especially on income wherein you are generating interest income, mutual funds. So we have set up a separate mutual fund desk for our clients, and a lot of our clients have started working with us. So we are doing reviews of your portfolio, and if there is something that we would want to add on to your portfolio is what we are recommending. AIF and PMSs are something which we are doing as a niche investment opportunity for slightly more HNI clients. And estate planning is something which is very close to my heart, and which I feel that it should be a part of everyone's wealth journey going forward, as to how you should manage your wealth for your next generation. So this basically includes creating a will and a trust. In the interest of time, I will skip the rest of it and I will quickly jump on to the Q&A because I see that there are some questions on the chat box. So let me try and quickly take questions. Okay, so the first question is, in spite of all of the events, why NSE is not overcoming their drawbacks which SEBI has pointed? Is it that they don't want to come into IPO intentionally as they have enough money? Okay, so in my view, so the question I will just quickly repeat again. What they wanted to, what the poster was asking is कि अभी तक NSE का IPO क्यों नहीं आया है, and वो अपने जो queries उनके ऊपर पोज हुए हैं उनको resolve करके approval क्यों नहीं ले पा रहे हैं. So from what I understand, exchange and the chairman has given multiple interviews in which they have said that they are looking to do an IPO very categorically, and they are working with SEBI to give all of the answer all of the questions and give enough proofs and enough evidences of whatever is being asked from them. So here, my view is that it is just because the size of the company is very large. It is one of the most it's one of the largest exchanges in India, is why it is taking time. And because of the court case being open for the last 3-4 years has also created some impact as far as the IPO approval goes. But largely things look to getting sorted in the next 12 to 24 months. So I expect that these should typically get resolved. Okay. So what we'll do is we have some queues also, some questions in the queues. So let's just try and quickly take some on the call. I will parallelly keep on reading questions on the chat and also answering them. So Mr. Rakesh Shah, if you would want to quickly ask a question.
हेलो, इज इट ऑडिबल?
या
हेलो, हाँ, मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि इन 5 years डाउन द लाइन, अभी जैसे एनएससी है, डीएससी है, then metropolitan stock exchange is also there. They are also planning to they also want to take one day as expiry, like they want a separate expiry day, like Friday. तो डाउन 5 साल में अपने को क्या लगता है कि कितना शेयर एनएससी के निकल के बीएससी और एमएससी में जाएगा?
Okay, so I think the key reason why this shift is happening is what we discussed. कि एक exchange में एक ही weekly expiry है, therefore people are finding newer exchanges जहाँ पे they can redeploy their money, right? But what we feel is after studying the market, the market share with NSE will not, hopefully not go below 73, 74, 75%. अभी Q4 में it was at 81%, 82%. यहाँ से हो सकता है और 3-4% का fall आए. But after that it will stabilize because after that the kind of volumes that you have in NSE, you just can't recreate that on another exchange. So 2-3-4% का यहाँ से और सकता है, but beyond that we have a feeling that it will stabilize.
तो लाइक इससे मैक्सिमम तो वी कैन नॉट प्रेडिक्ट इट, बट कितना तक
Yes.
प्राइस डाउन आ सकता है एनएससी का?
तो देखिए ये तो बताना मुश्किल है कि क्या प्राइसिंग रहेगा, बिकॉज देयर आर लॉट ऑफ फोर्सेस एट प्ले, राइट? ट्रांजैक्शन तो एक बिट है, उसके अलावा देयर आर मल्टीपल वर्टिकल्स जिसमें काम हो रहा है. अभी जैसे एनएससी रिसेंटली लॉन्च इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डेरिवेटिव्स, सो वो अपने आप में इतना बड़ा मार्केट है कि वो आज फर्स्ट टाइम लॉन्च करेंगे तो हो सकता है 1-2 साल में वो इन इटसेल्फ एक बड़ा मनी स्पिनर हो जाए, राइट? सो दैट बीइंग सेड, आवर ब्रॉडर एक्सपेक्टेशन इज कि एनएससी 30 to 40x पी के नीचे नहीं जाएगा. एंड अगर ये प्राइसिंग, ये मल्टीपल मेंटेन होना है एंड एनएससी अगर ब्रॉडली सिमिलर रेवेन्यू एंड प्रॉफिट करेगा इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर, क्योंकि कोई ग्रोथ नहीं आया और FY27 में ग्रोथ आएगा, तभी भी यहाँ से फॉल 5-10% तो देखिए, नो वन कैन कमिट, नो वन कैन अंडरस्टैंड, बट बियॉन्ड दैट वी डोंट एक्सपेक्ट इट टू मूव लोअर और अपर.
फाइन, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू जी, थैंक यू. पुष्कर जी, if you want to go ahead.
हेलो.
Yeah, Rakesh ji, please go ahead.
हेलो हेलो.
एनएससी का आईपीओ कितना तक आ सकता है और एमएससीआई अब ऊपर कितना तक जा सकता है सर? अभी एमएससीआई 12 का 12 तक, फिर अभी 6 रुपया 7 रुपया में घूम रही है.
Right. So I think broadly in NSE IPO we don't understand the price abhi, but the typical understanding is कि closer to the market price ही आना चाहिए. MSCI, yes, उन्होंने last fundraise किया तो 2 रुपए पे the price went up to almost 11-12 rupees. वहाँ से it again came back down to half rupees and अभी वापस से 5.5 के बाद वो 7 रुपए के आसपास stabilize हो गया है. MSCI में अभी as of date कोई business नहीं है. लेकिन द गुड पार्ट इज कि बिकॉज द इन्वेस्टमेंट हैज कम फ्रॉम जीरोधा एंड ग्रो एंड शेयर इंडेक्स सिक्योरिटीज, द एक्सपेक्टेशन इज कि ये 300, 400, 500 करोड़ लेके वो लोग इक्विटी डेरिवेटिव में कुछ मार्केट बना पाएंगे. अगर बना पाएंगे देन द प्राइस विल इंक्रीज, अदरवाइज इट माइट अगेन फॉल बैक डाउन. राइट, थैंक यू. पुष्कर जी, इफ यू वुड वांट टू गो अहेड.
हेलो हेलो.
हाँ जी
सर ये मतलब 10 years के
हाँ,
लिए उसमें एनएससी में इन्वेस्टमेंट करना ठीक रहेगा 10 साल के लिए?
सर एनएससी जब हमने पहला ब्लॉक लिया था तो उसका थोड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है. सो ब्रॉडली जब हमने 2016 में पहला ब्लॉक लिया था तो इट वाज डन बाय वन वेरी सीनियर बैंकर एंड दिस वाज अ पर्सनल इन्वेस्टमेंट व्हिच वी हैड डन इन 2016 एंड व्हाट ही हैड टोल्ड अस इज कि मैं आपके लिए ब्लॉक एक ही शर्त पे कराऊंगा, अगर आप मुझे आज वादा करोगे कि ये आप कभी नहीं बेचोगे अपने लाइफ टाइम में, राइट? So this is the thought with which we look at NSE. It is something which is very, very stable. It is something which has an excellent business model, जहाँ पे macroeconomics is all in place. So we personally feel that this is one investment which you can do from a very long-term horizon. I mean, 5, 10, 15 years तक अगर आप रखोगे तो we expect NSE to broadly keep doing well year on year, because the market itself will keep on growing, they will keep on entering new segments, India's financialization will keep on increasing, and therefore automatically those benefits will flow to an exchange.
Okay sir, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yajur Vedam, if you want to go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, hi
Next
Abhishek.
in line, Mr. Vinod. Yeah, hi. Please go ahead. No problem.
Is it worth buying NSDL? Its valuation is very high at this moment.
So NSDL, if you compare to CDSL, I feel that CDSL is growing a little faster than NSDL, and multiple wise, it is a little difficult to justify, especially it being in the unlisted space. But that being said, what happens is if it is an oligopoly, as in अगर दो player ही है और regulated market है और तीसरा player नहीं आएगा, तो आगे पीछे that benefit flows to both of these players because the market increases. And therefore what typically happens is that because वही लोग हैं और मार्केट बड़ा होगा ही, नए नए इन्वेस्टर्स आएंगे, उनको डीमैट खोलना पड़ेगा, डीमैट खोलेंगे तो दो ही डिपॉजिटरी है, या तो एनएसडीएल है या सीडीएसएल है. तो अल्टीमेटली in such cases both participants typically keep doing well. So yes, at the current time if you evaluate, I think it is expensive, but प्राइसिंग इसका कम होगा कि नहीं होगा वो बताना मुश्किल है, क्योंकि मार्केट ऐसा है कि इवेंचुअली लोगों को लगता है कि अगर मार्केट बढ़ेगा तो सीडीएसएल भी बढ़ेगा और एनएसडीएल भी बढ़ेगा. सो दैट वेज प्राइसिंग डजंट फॉल, बट यस फ्रॉम प्योर numbers perspective, if you ask me, yes, NSDL looks expensive.
Let's say I have only one option, either to buy NSDL or CSDL. Which one I should go for?
That way, if I were to just choose between the universe of NSDL and CDSL, I would take CDSL.
Okay, and let's say I have a I have some amount actually, and I want to put my 10. Hello, I want to put 10% of my. Can I put my 10% of overall money in NSE IPO, pre-IPO?
सर देखिए, allocation percentage is something which is dependent on other factors also, कि आपका portfolio size कितना है, आपका going forward fund requirement कितना है, ये सब देख के we have to fix up a percentage that ways. So that if you want we can discuss on a call, because we'll have to understand the rest of your portfolio कि आपने और कहाँ invest किया है, कितने time के लिए invest किया है, क्या lock in है, आपको उन पैसों की जरूरत नहीं है ना 3, 4, 5 years, and then decide कि कितना percentage of allocation आना चाहिए.
Can we have a one-to-one call with you after? Whenever you have a time, will I get this
Sure,
chance with you?
sure. Yes.
Okay,
Why
thanks.
not? You
Thank
can
you so
just
much,
reach out
Abhishek,
to
for your
anyone.
support.
They will probably connect you with me.
Sure.
सर
Sure.
अभी
Abhishek.
लॉट
Thank you
साइज
so
कितना
much.
है सर, अगर खरीदना है तो लॉट साइज कितना है अभी?
लॉट साइज अभी तो because it has become freely transferable, तो NSE में इतना लॉट is not no longer consistent. So आप 50 shares के multiple में typically invest कर सकते हो. So that's approximately by little under 1 lakh rupees.
What is the price as of now?
सर अभी लगभग आप पकड़ लीजिए बेसिस ब्लॉक साइज 1650 से 1700 के बीच में काम हो रहा है.
अच्छा,
That's a tentative price currently.
Okay. Thank you.
1650 and above, yeah.
सर
हेलो
सर मोतीलाल ओसवाल के मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ बोलिए जी.
मोतीलाल ओसवाल का मुझे रिसर्च रिपोर्ट था, तो वहां पे शो किया है कि अगले 2 साल में एनएससी का वॉल्यूम या मतलब टोटल सेल से वो मैक्सिमम 10% ही ग्रो होगा, जबकि बीएससी का 40% सीएजीआर होगा नेक्स्ट 2 इयर्स. तो आपके हिसाब से फिर समझो 35-40 का पी है, तो 2 साल तक एनएससी का भाव बढ़ेगा नहीं, अगर सपोज 2 साल आईपीओ नहीं आया तो?
ओके, सो आई थिंक सर अगर आपने प्रेजेंटेशन फॉलो किया तो हमने भी ट्राई किया था एस्टिमेट करने का कि FY26 और FY27 में क्या रहेगा. सो अगेन वी हैव नॉट बिल्ट इन मोर देन अ 10% ग्रोथ फॉर एनएससी, बिकॉज वी फील कि यहाँ से ग्रोथ फॉर नेक्स्ट 1 ईयर थोड़ा लिमिटेड रहेगा. उसके बाद बिकॉज अदर सेगमेंट्स विल आल्सो स्टार्ट किकिंग इन, वो बेटर हो जाएगा. बट द पॉइंट इज कि आपको इसको इस तरह से इवैल्यूएट करना है कि one, you are investing at a multiple of 33 versus a multiple of 75. So आपका multiple entry multiple half है. So BSE actually has to grow much faster for a very long period of time to justify a 75 multiple. And profitability for NSE is still much higher. And as far as IPO goes, I feel IPO is yes 12 to 24 months away, but उसके अंदर आ जाना चाहिए. Because the regulator has shown intent to approve the IPO, the company has filed many times. They are responding back to SEBI. They are answering whatever questions have been asked for from them.
और ऑप्शंस में आपको नहीं लगता कि एनएसई यहाँ से मार्केट शेयर लॉस होगा? क्योंकि
तो सर
बीएसई
जैसे हमने
कंटिन्यूसली
कवर
अपने
किया
कॉल में भी बोल रहा है कि हम लोग और थोड़ा मार्केट शेयर गेन करेंगे और 6 मंथ्स में या 8 मंथ्स 9 मंथ्स।
बात है, सो सर दैट इज व्हाट वी हैड कवर्ड कि FY24 में अगर आप देखते हैं, फर्स्ट अप्रैल 24 में अगर आप देखते हैं, आज से 1.5-2 साल पहले, तो ऑप्शंस में एनएससी ऑलमोस्ट एट 97-98% मार्केट शेयर। वो 97-98 कम होके 81 के आसपास आ गया है इन द लास्ट क्वार्टर का जो डेटा आया है। सो व्हाट आर एनालिसिस सेज इज कि यहाँ से 3-4% प्लस माइनस हो सकता है, बट आफ्टर दैट इट विल स्टेबलाइज, इट विल नॉट गो बियॉन्ड दैट, बिकॉज स्टिल दी ओवरऑल आप, क्योंकि बिकॉज आपको कंपेयर करना पड़ेगा कैश मार्केट से भी। तो कैश मार्केट में आज भी 94-95% का मार्केट शेयर है एनएससी का। तो अगर बीएससी के पास उतना एज हो तो कैश में भी वो डाइवर्जन आता ना, तो कैश में तो डाइवर्जन आया नहीं। यस, वीकली एक्सपायरी का चेंज के कारण बैंक निफ्टी में जो ट्रेड्स होते थे वो थोड़े कम हो गए, बिकॉज निफ्टी का ट्रेड तो रिटेन हुआ है लेकिन बैंक निफ्टी में फॉल आ गया बिकॉज उसका वीकली एक्सपायरी चला गया। सो some money of that, some trading money which used to rotate in NSE has moved to BSE, but our personal analysis says कि somewhere close to this range stabilize हो जाएगा।
थैंक यू सर।
Yes, sir.
बट
Quickly,
मेजर रेवेन्यू
it's
तो
fine.
मेजर रेवेन्यू तो
Quickly,
डेरिवेटिव से आता है, कैश से आप कंपेयर करें तो।
absolutely, I'm with you. Options is what is the
Yeah.
largest revenue source for both the exchanges, and therefore,
Yeah.
although cash is grown by 40%, uh,
Like what
your
it looks
futures has
from
grown by
here is what it looks from here is BSE has got more to achieve easily, and NSE it's quite difficult to again increase its market share from here.
absolutely.
ये मेरा कंसर्न था। और एक और एक कंसर्न है कि
Market
इंस्टीट्यूशनल इंटरेस्ट कितना है एनएससी में। वी आर सीइंग दैट रिटेल शेयर होल्डिंग इज इंक्रीजिंग। इंस्टीट्यूशनल इंटरेस्ट है कि एनएससी स्टॉक में अभी इन प्राइसेस में?
Sir, I think all institutions are already invested, because आप अगर NSE के शेयर होल्डिंग लिस्ट को देखोगे तो obviously there has been a shift from institution to retail. That is obviously true. But उसका कुछ कुछ रीजन भी होता है। आप अगर देखोगे तो a lot of NSE shares were held by a lot of AIFs. Now AIFs have a fund of life. अब वो फंड का जब लाइफ खत्म होता है, they have to sell it off. And therefore that inventory, that holding has moved from, say, an institutional AIF to a retail or an HNI or an ultra HNI or a family office. But typically, even after the shift, the majority portion is still held by institutions only. And this is a very normal process. Closer to the IPO, obviously.
Yeah, but ये जो भी
institutional
retail
capital,
shares है, they will try to exit at listing or after this 6 months का जो tenure होता है, तो जब retail will bring in more selling pressure than the institutional holding, ना?
Not really, sir. I don't agree with that. क्योंकि अगर कोई भी IPO आ रहा है तो obviously उसमें जो भी एंट्री ले रहा है वो कभी ना कभी तो एग्जिट करेगा ही। तो अभी स्विगी का भी IPO आया तो उसमें भी when people like IPO lock-in opens, everyone has to, who has invested will think about selling, right? But that doesn't mean कि selling pressure आएगा, because by then आप इसको इस तरह से देखो कि NSE because of its size will obviously be as a part of the Nifty 50. It will obviously be a part of Sensex. Sorry, Nifty 50 में तो नहीं, it will be a part of Sensex because cross listing होगा. And because that will happen, all large cap funds, any ETFs, index funds who are replicating the index will also have to add NSE in the same proportion in which it is holding in the index. And therefore, just because of the size and because of the free float of the exchange, a large number of institutional capital will have to hold it permanently. तो जो आप सेलिंग प्रेशर बता रहे हो, मेरे हिसाब से वो उल्टा हो जाएगा, वो बाइंग प्रेशर आ जाएगी।
And I have one more query. If you have seen the stock of IEX, Indian Energy Exchange, ये भी एक portion है. So it is also again highly regulated by government. तो यहाँ पे NSE और BSE का बिजनेस भी सेबी बहुत स्ट्रिक्टली गवर्न करते हैं। तो again they will try to bring in more players like MSCI है जो जिसमें फंडिंग हुआ है, तो मार्केट शेयर और ज्यादा डिस्ट्रीब्यूट ही होगा ना, लाइक देन पहले एनएससी का कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड था, बट इन फ्यूचर इट लुक्स लाइक इवन they will try to distribute the share with across all people.
सर इसमें क्या होता है ना, मतलब सिंपल चीज है, सोशल मीडिया कैसे काम करता है कि देयर आर नेटवर्क इफेक्ट्स, राइट? एंड नेटवर्क इफेक्ट्स का क्या मतलब है कि जहां पर मेजॉरिटी लोग रहेंगे दैट एक्सचेंज विल बी मोर फ्लूइड, वहां पे बिड आस्क स्प्रेड सबसे कम होगा, वहां पे एक्सचेंज विल बी मोस्ट एफिशिएंट, एंड देयरफॉर दिस इज वन इंडस्ट्री जहां पे इट इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट कि एक नया एंट्रेंट आ गया तो उसको मार्केट शेयर आएगा, नहीं ऐसा नहीं होता है, क्योंकि अब सोशल मीडिया है तो फेसबुक पे सब लोग जब तक हैं तब तक सब लोग वहीं पे रहते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि 10 लोग चले जाके दूसरे सोशल मीडिया पे मूव ऑन कर जाते हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ द सिंपल इम्पैक्ट कि once you have a monopoly position you will be the most efficient. It is very difficult to build another exchange जहां पे आप वो efficiency ला पाओ, वो bid ask spread ला पाओ. So a trader who's doing a trade on NSE, he will not find the same efficiency on any other exchange practically. So while yes, that will happen, that can happen, but I think it is a very uphill journey for a exchange to set up a new division and to gain market share per se.
बट ये जो बिड आस्क का जो भी डिफरेंस भी आपने बताया, इसमें लाइक इवन सेबी स्टार्टेड नो कि आप एक एक्सचेंज का दूसरे एक्सचेंज में सेटल भी कर सकते हो, लाइक कुछ इंटर एक्सचेंज का भी उन्होंने किया है सेटअप, तो दे आर ब्रिंगिंग इन डायनामिक्स, नो दे आर सेइंग ना एक्सचेंज इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी करके है, आप जैसे बीएससी का ट्रेड एनएससी के इसमें से भी सेटल कर सकते हैं. There is something like that. Even I am not fully. Yeah.
No problem.
There is something they are structuring के भाई दूसरे exchange को भी promote करना चाहिए करके. उनका व्यू जो गवर्नमेंट का व्यू ऐसा लग रहा है, इसके लिए मैंने पूछा.
Sure. Logical point. Got it. Quickly एक दो क्वेश्चन और ले लेते हैं.
अभिषेक जी, one more question, Apurva here. I understand the NSE NSDL is good for long term. What are the other options which you are recommending to your investors for the long term perspective?
Largely दो चार और कंपनी जो हमें अच्छी लगती है. One, we've always sold Endofil is something that we like, and we've been recommending that from almost 600 rupees a share. अभी almost 1200 रुपए का भाव है. It's something which is typically valued at 10,000 crores, but you're getting at a 3,000 crore MCAP. It has a 300 crore PAT pool. So everything looks good to us. 10x पे मिल रहा है, 10,000 crore का MCAP होना चाहिए, 3-4,000 crore पे मिल रहा है, so looks good to us that way. Hindustan Engineering is something which we had recommended somewhere at around a 500 rupee level. अभी 1500 के आसपास चल रहा है. They were at a similar size to what Jupiter Wagons and Titagar Wagons and Texmaco were getting. However, industry चल रहा था 55-60x के multiple पे. However, we were getting Hindustan Engineering at some 9x or 8x at that point of time. So these 2-3 companies is something which we've been positive on for the last 3-4 years, and broadly both of them have doubled, and we still continue to be positive for the next 3-4-5 years because we still feel कि अभी भी delta ज़्यादा है. Right.
Thanks Abhishek. Thank you. Thanks for this.
Thank you.
एनएससी जो अपनी सब्सिडी बेच रहा है उसका क्या?
हेलो सर, would you please light on legal status of NSE? Any highlights?
Legal status as an IPO.
Like MSC का सेटलमेंट है, एक तो दूसरा को लोकेशन है.
सर देखिए, कोलोकेशन तो ब्रॉडली सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्लियर वर्डिक्ट दे दिया है दैट एवरीथिंग इज डन, एवरीथिंग इज थ्रू. द अमाउंट व्हिच वाज विद सेबी 640 करोड़, उसका भी डिसगॉर्ज का ऑर्डर आ गया है, एंड एनएससी को सुप्रीम कोर्ट से ये टाइप के क्लियरेंसेस मिल गए हैं. नाउ दे हैव टू जस्ट टेक अ अप्रूवल फ्रॉम सेबी टू लॉन्च इट्स आईपीओ. वंस दे गेट एन अप्रूवल फ्रॉम सेबी, देन दे विल फाइल द डीआरएसपी एंड देन दे विल प्रोसीड विद द आईपीओ. एमएससीआई के अगेंस्ट जो कोर्ट केस है दैट इज हाँ मैं कवर करता हूँ, दैट हैज नॉट मूव्ड, सो दैट इज स्टिल देयर। इसमें जो सुनने में आ रहा है या तो आउट ऑफ कोर्ट सेटलमेंट होगा, या दैट केस विल ड्रैग ऑन फॉर अनदर कपल ऑफ इयर्स एंड इट विल जस्ट रिमेन स्टेटस क्वो।
ओके, थैंक यू।
हेलो
थैंक यू।
हेलो।
हाँ सर प्लीज गो अहेड।
हाँ अभिषेक जी, मैंने दो तीन क्वेश्चन पूछा है
जी।
जैसे गिफ्ट निफ्टी का क्या शेयर है अभी एनएसई का वॉल्यूम में, अ, अ, और जैसे ये एनएसडीएल का जो आईपीओ आएगा तो उसमें भी जो भी प्रॉफिट होगा एनएसई को, क्या वो भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होगा क्या प्रेजेंट शेयर होल्डर्स के साथ?
Sir, देखिए, answer to your question one, GIFT Nifty has grown very steeply. It has done really well. However, exact data on contribution कितना आ रहा है revenue पे and what is the growth rate, ये मेरे पास अभी handy नहीं है। इनका जब annual report आएगा ना इस साल का FY25 का, I think that is where we'll get to know कि क्या impact आया है GIFT Nifty का. So probably somewhere around August I can give you an educated answer on that. To answer your
लेकिन
second
उसका
question,
वॉल्यूम तो
broad
इसमें ऐड हो रहा है ना,
volume add हो रहा है.
गिफ्ट
GIFT
का।
Nifty is basically a subsidiary for NSE only. To answer your second question, largely अभी तक NSE ने जितने भी स्टेक सेल किए हैं, जब CDSL लिस्ट हुआ था तो CDSL की जो होल्डिंग आई थी, जब अभी प्रोटीन ईगॉफ का इन्होंने स्टेक जो बेचा है, सबको उन्होंने स्पेशल डिविडेंड की तरह दे दिया है लार्जली. सो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ऑल्सो वी फील कि इनको उतना कैश रिक्वायरमेंट है नहीं, क्योंकि आप डिविडेंड टू ईपीएस भी अगर देखोगे ना, 35 रुपए का डिविडेंड दिया है 50 रुपए के ईपीएस में, तो ऑलमोस्ट 70-75% का रेशियो है. तो इट इज वेरी क्लियर कि कंपनी को ग्रो करने के लिए पैसों की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है, तो देयरफॉर दे कैन वेरी इजीली पे आउट मोस्ट ऑफ द मनी दैट दे आर गेटिंग फ्रॉम स्टेक सेल्स. मतलब मान लेते हैं कि आगे चल के एनसीसीएल भी लिस्ट होगी या एनसीसीएल का स्टेक सेल होगा, तो ऑल ऑफ दैट मनी अगेन विल फ्लो बैक टू इन्वेस्टर्स ओनली इन आवर व्यू.
ओके ओके। क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन का भी अगर होगा तो आएगा, लेकिन वो तो लिस्ट नहीं होगा शायद, अभी तक तो उनको अलाउड नहीं है शायद क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन को लिस्ट होना।
अभी दूर है, अभी अभी काफी दूर है, अभी काफी दूर है, बट डाइवेस्ट करने के लिए बोला गया है. आईपीओ के थ्रू नहीं भी होगा, बट दे हैव बीन आस्क्ड टू डाइवेस्ट. सो डाइवेस्ट कैसे भी होगा तो द मनी हैज टू फ्लो इनटू एनएसई's अकाउंट ओनली. आईपीओ नहीं भी
डाइवर्स होगा तो
बाहर आएगा.
हाँ, डाइवर्स होगा तो शेयर तो मिलेगा अपने को शायद, जो शेयर होल्डर्स हैं
डीमर जो आपको शेयर मिल जाएंगे, या फिर वो किसी और को कोई स्टेक सेल कर देंगे एंड आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे. मतलब व्हाटएवर हैपेंस, अभी तो देयर इज नो टॉक ऑफ दैट, देयर इज नो क्लैरिटी ऑन दैट, बट व्हाटएवर हैपेंस यू विल गेट सम लिक्विडिटी थ्रू दैट आल्सो.
ओके
ठीक है.
सर पॉलीमेटेक पे कुछ बता सकते हो सर? बहुत फंस गए सब लोग. पॉलीमेटेक पे कुछ बता सकते हैं सर? बहुत लोग फंस गए
सर. पॉलीमेटेक तो देखिए, इट इज ऑलवेज बीन अ क्वेश्चन केस. मतलब आपने अगर प्रीवियस हमारे जितने भी वेबिनार्स और देखे होंगे, वी टोल्ड दैट वी फील कि पॉलीमेटेक में थोड़ा कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस वी आर नॉट वेरी कंफर्टेबल विद. फाइनेंशियल्स ऑल्दो नंबर देख के अच्छे लगते हैं, अभी भी जो नंबर आए हैं अच्छे ही आए हैं, बट जब मार्केट थोड़ा सा सेंटिमेंटली वीक होता है, तो जहां पे भी मैनेजमेंट पे बहुत ज्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है, वहां पे भाव सबसे पहले टूट जाता है. सो आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट हैज प्लेड आउट इन पॉलीमेटेक आल्सो.
अभिषेक जी, my last
स्प्रे इंजीनियरिंग,
या
my ask
स्प्रे इंजीनियरिंग सर.
just a second sir, Vimal ji, if you just want to complete your question.
अभिषेक जी, जैसा आपने बताया कि गोइंग अहेड एनएससी को ग्रो करने के लिए ज्यादा फंड की जरूरत नहीं है, मतलब 50% 50 का ईपीएस में से 35. सो आई थिंक द कंपनी हमेशा उसको ज्यादा फंड की जरूरत नहीं है, तो इट मे एंजॉय अ हाई पी ऑलवेज. तो और कंपेयर टू बीएसई, व्हाट डू यू थिंक? आई मीन एट व्हाट पी मल्टीपल?
मेरे हिसाब से I'll tell you sir. अगर चलिए मान लेते हैं कि एनएसई की बात छोड़ देते हैं, कोई भी कंपनी का शेयर प्राइस उसके आरओई के ऊपर सुपर डिपेंडेंट होता है, ये मेरा मानना है. ठीक है. रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी मतलब कंपनी आपसे जितनी इक्विटी ले रखी है उसके ऊपर जितना रिटर्न बना रही है, आपका शेयर का भाव तो उससे ज्यादा नहीं बढ़ सकता. तो ROE फॉर NSE इज ऑलमोस्ट 40%, 45% अगर आप इस साल का ले लो, बट एवरेज अगर 3 साल का भी लेंगे तो मेरे हिसाब से 38 to 40% के बीच में आएगा। तो 40% ROE का बिजनेस है विद नो रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर एडिशनल कैपिटल, ऑब्वियसली द P शुड बी हायर देन व्हाट इट इज राइट नाउ।
I mean,
कैपिटल एफिशिएंट बिजनेस है ना, नहीं
हाँ,
किसी
it
को
will
हाई
enter.
हाई वैल्यूएशन।
Hello. Hello.
हेलो, हाँ जी, प्लीज गो अहेड।
Hello. हाँ, yeah, please go ahead.
So वही मैं बता रहा था कि practically to answer the question, obviously if the company does not need capital to grow and उसका ROE काफी high है, the P multiple obviously has to be higher for that company. Leaving aside
Okay,
everything,
so
not I mean just discussing in general.
Can we expect the listing would be at around the P of BSE at the same EPS?
नहीं, P ऑफ BSE के तक जाना मुश्किल है क्योंकि उतना हाई ग्रोथ रेट नहीं रहेगा। तो आपका जो P टिपिकली डिपेंड करेगा ग्रोथ रेट पे भी और ROE पे भी। तो ROE ऑल्दो हाई है, ग्रोथ रेट फॉर द नेक्स्ट 1-2 years वी आर नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग इट टू बी दैट हाई। तो अपने को एक्सपेक्टेशन थोड़ा मॉडरेट ही रखना पड़ेगा, मतलब वी कांट एक्सपेक्ट कि 70-75 का P चला जाएगा। बट दैट बीइंग सेड, हाँ, यहाँ से mix of growth in revenue of 10-15% and growth in PE of another 15-20%, 30-35% का ग्रोथ उस तरह से मिला के आ जाना चाहिए। That is what we expect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
कमोडिटी सेक्टर में कुछ मार्केट गेन किया है क्या MCX से NSE?
Not really. Commodity बहुत छोटा है, on currency भी वो last regulation जो आया उसके बाद तो practically 90% volume wipe out हो गया है। तो commodity में अभी NSE has not been able to make a very big dent. वो similar है, मतलब no major growth there.
हेलो
हाँ रुपेश जी बताएं।
अल्टीमेट एनालिसिस क्या है सब NSDL और CDSL में कौन सा लेना चाहिए?
सर आई थिंक वो हमने कवर किया। NSDL ब्रॉडली थोड़ा मल्टीपल वाइज महंगा है हमारे हिसाब से।
तो इट इज बेटर टू बाय CDSL फ्रॉम द मार्केट?
नहीं देखिए, अब CDSL लेना है कि नहीं लेना वो आपका एनालिसिस आपको करना पड़ेगा। बट जस्ट अगर आप मुझे पूछो कि CDSL NSDL के बीच में क्या करना चाहिए, तो CDSL का मार्केट मल्टीपल अभी आपको थोड़ा सस्ता मिल रहा है एज कम्पेयर टू NSDL। तो उस तरह से
इन
वैसे
फ्यूचर
लेना है वो आपको डिसाइड
वेदर
करना पड़ेगा।
NSDL कैन ओवरटेक CDSL?
सर वो भी मैंने कवर किया ना। देखिए, कोई भी मार्केट जहाँ पे दो ही प्लेयर हैं और रेगुलेटरी कंट्रोल्ड है कि तीसरा आदमी आना बहुत मुश्किल है, वहां पे बोथ प्लेयर्स टिपिकली डू वेल। ये देखा गया है मार्केट में, बाकी इंडस्ट्री में भी। तो वी एक्सपेक्ट कि ये यहाँ पे भी प्ले आउट होगा। NSDL विल आल्सो कीप डूइंग वेल, बट जस्ट फ्रॉम अ प्योर P मल्टीपल परस्पेक्टिव आज के दिन CDSL का P बेटर है, बेटर प्लेस्ड है फ्रॉम
And
NSDL,
what is
जस्ट
the
फ्रॉम
running price of NSDL expected in pre
NSDL।
IPO?
लगभग आप पकड़ लीजिए 1000 से 1050 के बीच में सप्लाई आ रहा है।
1050.
1050, yes.
And
1000 to 1050।
what about the minimum quantity?
अब तो सर ये भी फ्रीली ट्रांसफरेबल है, तो वैसे मिनिमम का कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, मतलब 50,000 1 लाख के मल्टीपल में आप कर सकते हैं।
Right. Then what is the expected IPO date roughly?
जुलाई लास्ट फ्रॉम वॉट एवर वाज पब्लिश्ड इन द न्यूज, उसके हिसाब से जुलाई 25 इज द टारगेटेड टाइमलाइन फॉर द IPO।
So hardly 2-3 months left, ना?
होपफुली, बट इन्होंने एक दो बार पुश कर लिया है, तो देखिए फिर पुश हो सकता है, बट मुझे लगता है जुलाई सितंबर तक आ जाना चाहिए।
और ये IPO के लिस्टिंग के बाद आफ्टर 6 months इट विल बी सेलेबल?
हाँ, पहले 6 महीने लॉक इन रहेगा, 6 मंथ्स के बाद यू कैन सेल इट। करेक्ट।
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Abhishek ji, one last question, if I can ask. I know you're in.
No problem, sir. Please go ahead. Shyam sir, if you would want to go ahead,
Abhishek ji, sorry. I think I was on mute actually. Can I talk now?
No problem. Please go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, thank you so much for the wonderful analysis of what exactly has happened in the options as far as NSE is concerned. Thank you so much. I really loved the analysis actually. There is just one, I would say a deeper insight I want to hear from you. Most of the exchanges worldwide are monopolies by nature because of liquidity pool or because of networking effect. The BSE tried to extract market share from NSE at least twice before. And they were not able to do it, but because somehow they put out, through regulator or somebody, they took the entire, because of they captured some of the market share. This is a scheme. I think even Chauhanji himself was saying in the stock market that one person was favored or something. He was saying for the first time actually. So now, when you really look at it, that most of the cash pool is there with NSE, most of the future pool is there with NSE, and do you think this tentative, grabbing of BankX and other things, will it stay, or what I hear is that even Chauhanji also told that it has stabilized. The loss of market share is stabilized. Now, do you see some market share coming back to NSE? Because the pool, you have one single pool of liquidity. Even if you look at it, for the same kind of money, you can take 1.25 times more Nifty rather than Sensex.
Right.
So what is your insight there, that maybe NSE can grab the market share back, because fundamentally these stock exchanges are monopolies by default globally?
Correct. Sir, actually, this is something which we'll have to watch for another 1 quarter. Because sir, there is a lot of changes in terms of what will be the expiry dates. Earlier exchanges were setting different expiry dates. Then suddenly another regulation came in कि इतना expiry date अलग-अलग नहीं कर सकते हैं. They are all contracts have to expire on the same date. So once this stabilizes, then we can take an educated view कि how will the liquidity pool flow. Now, there are two cases. One, if different expiries are allowed, कि Nifty Monday को हो रहा है, Sensex Tuesday को हो रहा है, MSCI का SX40 Wednesday को हो रहा है, and therefore that money is being rotated. In that case, other exchanges will get a higher benefit. But if you look at the most recent regulation which came in, which basically said that they are wanting to reduce the number of days of expiry to 2. Therefore, if that happens, then again we expect market share to come back. Because if that money has to be invested on that particular day, then it will be invested through NSE only. But if there is no option for NSE to have another expiry on another day, then it will go to the other exchange. So that is why another month we should have much more understanding of this, because abhi regulatory flux mein hai.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Abhishek ji, for all
Thank you,
Abhishek ji, for all the information that you provided today and patiently answered so many questions. I just had one question. So I saw somewhere that NSE is a shareholder in NSDL. So would NSE shareholders have some preferential treatment when they hit with IPO in terms of share allotment, or in terms of applying for those shares when they hit with the IPO?
नहीं सर, I don't think so. क्योंकि होल्ड को नहीं है ना, it is not a holding company, it is just an investor. 24% का होल्डिंग है NSE का, so I don't think there will be any benefit per se.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You'll obviously get the dividend when the realization happens and all of that plays out, but just in the NSDL's IPO, do you get any benefit? No.
Okay, thank you.
हेलो.
हाँ विपुल जी, प्लीज.
अभिषेक जी. हाँ अभिषेक जी, आपके हिसाब से, हाँ पर्सनली आपसे ही मैं क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहूंगा. अगर आप अभी इन्वेस्ट करना चाहेंगे तो किस में करेंगे, एनएसई में या बीएसई में? आपका राय मैं जानना चाहूंगा.
सर, पर्सनली I feel that in a network business, the larger player will keep on becoming larger. क्योंकि अगर आप कैश रिजर्व्स भी देखो, या आप स्केल देखो, या आप नंबर ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट्स देखो, while because of regulatory change अभी थोड़ा benefit मिला है to other exchanges also, but ये short lived होता है कभी कभी. So because I will look from a 5-year, 10-year perspective, I would want to bet on the market leader rather than the insurgent in a space like this.
राइट, सही है, मतलब मार्केट लीडर के साथ ही जाना. सही सही, आपका बात एकदम सही है. थैंक यू अभिषेक जी.
थैंक यू सर.
सर राकेश बोल रहे हैं सर. लास्ट क्वेश्चन एक था कि MSCI हम 2 रुपया में खरीदे हैं, 12 तक गया था, अभी क्या करना चाहिए, इसको होल्ड करे कि निकल जाए सर?
सर देखिए, MSCI थोड़ा सा इट इज, आपको इवैल्यूएट करना पड़ेगा कि इट इज लाइक अ कंपनी अगर चल गया, अगर उसमें एक्सचेंज में ऑप्शन वॉल्यूम आ गया या इक्विटी वॉल्यूम आ गया, देन इट विल जंप वेरी सिग्निफिकेंटली फ्रॉम हियर ऑल्सो. लेकिन अगर जो बाय कर रहे हैं वो नहीं कर रहे हैं, विच इज ऑल्सो वेरी लाइकली, क्योंकि देखिए इस स्पेस में सडनली खड़ा करना, जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया, बहुत आसान नहीं है, क्योंकि टिपिकली जो लार्जर प्लेयर होते हैं उसी के पास सारा वॉल्यूम चला जाता है. तो बट दैट बीइंग सेड, क्योंकि इसमें ग्रो आ गया है, जीरोदा आ गया है, तो वो लोगों के पास अपना एक बहुत बड़ा क्लाइंट बेस है, एंड दे कैन मेक इनोवेटिव प्रोडक्ट्स एंड पुश टू देयर क्लाइंट्स, एंड इफ दैट हैपेंस देन द गेम विल टर्न. So if you are an old investor, if you are already seeing like a 300% return, आप 2 रुपए में लिए थे, अभी 6-7 रुपए में आपका लिक्विडेशन हो सकता है, तो आपको 300% का रिटर्न आ रहा है, 3x 4x में रिटर्न हो रहा है, तो यू कैन चूज टू पार्शियली बुक प्रॉफिट, पार्शियली प्ले इट आउट. तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि भाई अगर नीचे आ गया तो आपका पूरा गेन वाइप आउट हो गया एंड ऊपर गया तो आपका कुछ नहीं है, वैसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए. तो पार्शियल आप एग्जिट कर सकते हो मेरे हिसाब से. Got it. Cool. I think fairly long session. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you everyone for being so.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If I have not been able to speak or answer to me,
Thanks, Abhishek.
thank you, Vijay ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Saurabh ji. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek sir. Thank you so much for a knowledgeable session.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. If there is something which I missed, please reach out to me over WhatsApp or mail or through any of our team members, and we'll love to interact and try and solve any other queries which you might have missed. Thank you everyone, and have a great weekend. Take care.